Hey, how's it going? In today's video, we're talking about Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 14. This chapter was a setup chapter for sure, but it was also a brutal one to say the least. I couldn't help but feel bad for Boruto in this chapter, but I respect him for holding his own despite the odds being stacked against him. I'm not gonna lie, this chapter was a little hard to read. Not because the writing was bad, I actually think the opposite. But seeing an innocent character go through as much as what Boruto has gone through, it's just not cool in my book. The title of this chapter is called Duty, which is a recurring theme for several characters in this chapter. The chapter's cover is pretty cool because this is our first chance to get a look at Kashin Koji in full color and also outside of his former Kara attire, showing that he's put that life behind him. We also get to see an interesting looking graphics behind him, which of course represents prescience. Because the graphics are blank and we know Boruto's survival has led to a different future, we can infer from this that this is a new timeline with potentially unknown decision points. Koji also appears to be hiding himself. Although he has his duty to save the world from the Ten Tails, he still wants to stay out of the spotlight as much as possible. Okay, with that being said, let's dive right into the review. So we open up the chapter with Boruto returning to consciousness after being shot by Jura in chapter 12. Konohamaru informs Boruto that his wounds were completely healed. Boruto immediately notices the ninjutsu ceiling cuffs surrounding his wrists. Konohamaru points out that they were invented by Amado and that he shouldn't bother trying to use his teleportation ability to get away. It just won't work. And that even if he succeeded in essentially breaking those cuffs, he would be badly injured in the process. Boruto immediately asks if everyone's okay and the current whereabouts of the Shinju. Konohamaru gets Boruto up to date that while there were casualties, the Shinju have essentially run off and everyone Boruto personally knew is okay. I just wanted to note this as well. Konohamaru is actually treating Boruto like a human being here, which is a stark contrast to a lot of the other villagers. Mind you, from his perspective, he believes Boruto killed Naruto and Hinata. If someone killed my older brother figure, even if I had 3 years to cope with that, I don't think I would treat the situation as light as Konohamaru is right now. I think I would be a little bit more hostile towards Boruto. I've said this for a few chapters now. I believe the reason Konohamaru is so calm is because a part of him actually recognizes the bond he once shared with Boruto. Konohamaru was never this calm with Kawaki, even when Kawaki was cooperating with the villagers in part 1 of the series. I believe just like Sasuke and Mitsuki, he will learn to trust Boruto again, even despite the contradicting evidence, because it's just a part of him that just feels this natural connection to Boruto. We cut to the next scene as we get to see Sakura healing Inojin's remaining injuries. So this is Sakura's first debut in 2 Blue Vortex, and we can infer a lot of things from this scene. Sakura may not know about Omnipotence, but the fact she wasn't out there looking for Sasuke or even questioning things would mean she likely listened to Sarada after the events of chapter 80 and trusted her husband's judgment. This also confirms she is not the 5th Shinju, which we also learn that identity later on in the chapter. We also get a quick scene with Ino observing her son in a hospitalized state. It's a quick moment, but I appreciated seeing this very human interaction with a mother being concerned for her child's safety. I couldn't even imagine being a parent in the shinobi world, essentially in this Naruto universe. Every day your child leaves for a mission. You never truly know if they're going to make it back, and that's going to be the last time you see them. Ino also lost her father during the 4th Great Shinobi War, with her essentially replacing him as the leader of the sensory unit in the Leaf Village. She might even feel a little guilty towards the situation as well. You know, from Ino's perspective, she could be thinking, hey, I'm following my father's, will and being this leader, but I'm also breaking the law, which is dishonoring my father in a way. Her honoring and caring for her family is what's going to affect her actions later in this chapter. We cut back to the previous scene as we get to see Boruto essentially getting ready for his interrogation. I find it interesting that they're allowing Amado of all people to listen in on this discussion. Why should he be trusted? Pre-Omnipotence, he granted Kawaki his karma seal back, which in turn allowed Kawaki to even have the power to do anything to Naruto in the first place. As far as I'm concerned, citizen or not, he should be in jail because he is indirectly responsible for the 7th Hokage's death from everybody's perspective. Shikamaru also decides to listen in, and it's clear he's keeping his distance because obviously he wants Boruto to escape. Ada also listens in, which in turn allows Kawaki to be up to date on events as well. I find it interesting he wasn't allowed to be in the interrogation room himself, but we as the audience know he is keeping his distance because he doesn't know if Boruto is going to reveal the truth about everything. He wants to be ready for the worst case scenario. I really appreciated Damon in Two Blue Vortex. I love how he always makes fun of Kawaki for living a lie. Damon knows that at face value, no one will believe the concept of omnipotence, but the idea of it getting out that Naruto is still alive would raise a few eyebrows. Kawaki doesn't even give a proper rebuttal. People have no reason to doubt the idea of Naruto still being alive. 3 years went by and his body was never discovered, and this is a world where alternative dimensions exist and sealing jutsu also exists, so this idea really isn't that far of a stretch. Kawaki simply says that it's Boruto's fault why Naruto disappeared, which simply isn't true. It was Kawaki's fear of losing Naruto that caused him to do this. Take Boruto out of the equation and Kawaki likely would have reached this conclusion to seal Naruto anyway at one point or another. Kawaki also says Boruto is dangerous and could rampage at any moment, which also is not true. We have seen time and time again in Two Blue Vortex that Boruto has done nothing but be a selfless hero and has accomplished way more in one day than Kawaki has in 3 whole years. Boruto stopped Code's invasion. He stood up to the Shinju. He saved Himawari. When his Karma Seal did activate, which was entirely Kawaki's fault, Boruto did the responsible thing, which was leave Kawaki and essentially deactivate it. Also, if Boruto was such a dangerous Otsutsuki or monster as Kawaki says he is, why did Boruto spare his life? He could have killed Kawaki at any time. Kawaki is really just talking about himself. He lied to everyone. He sealed his adopted parents against their will and has tried to kill his adopted brother on several occasions. This is his true nature. This is who he truly is, a monster. Little does Kawaki know, however, Mitsuki was actually listening in the entire time. Mitsuki learned in Chapter 7 of Two Blue Vortex that Kawaki was his false son, someone who deceived him and sent him on a darker path of loneliness, isolation, and confusion. But when he was around Boruto, things became a little bit more clear, and Boruto regained Mitsuki's respect. So now Mitsuki has 100% confirmation that Boruto and Kawaki have indeed switched places. Although he doesn't know how this is possible, he knows it did happen because Kawaki and Damon would have no reason to make up such a fictitious story in a private room with nobody listening. So Boruto begins in the interrogation by explaining the origins of the Shinju. Who are they and which Shinju is based on which character? So now the Leaf understands that Hidari is based on the chakra and form of Sasuke Uchiha. Konohamaru also learns of the existence of Matsuri in particular. Boruto tells Konohamaru that her motto is based on Moegi, his former teammate and friend. Boruto also tells Konohamaru to be careful because she is after him specifically. Boruto likely learned of that little detail through Koji's prescience ability and saw a potential future where Konohamaru may have been devoured by her. It's truly a wonder how quickly Amado was able to put together the motivations of Boruto's explanation on the different Shinju. Because they have intelligence, their instincts to eat Otsutsuki has been overridden by their ability to learn and obtain new values and have emotions. They are truly twisted versions of human beings. Amado, despite never interacting with the Shinju, understands that what they truly seek is knowledge and information. We definitely need to watch out for Amado because I suspect he has already started a new game of chess and is laying out the pieces to eventually control the power of the Shinju by manipulating them to think they are going to obtain what they desire. We also learned the true identity of Jura in this chapter. As I inferred in my previous reviews, Jura is the literal humanoid incarnation of the Ten Tails. The Leaf recognized Hidari's chakra signature when they both invaded the village in Chapter 8 of Two Blue Vortex, because his chakra signature was stolen from Sasuke. But they never recognized Jura's chakra signature. It was completely unknown to them. Jura is quite literally the tailed beast we saw in Boruto Part 1, just given intelligence in a human-like form thanks to Code's actions. This is why he is so powerful compared to the other Shinju. He has literally nearly limitless chakra. But this also means that Jura can never truly die, unlike the other Shinju, since he is basically a tailed beast, no different from Kurama and the other 8 Biju. He will always be a problem unless he is like the other Shinju And upon his defeat, he releases a Thorn Soul bulb, and this Thorn Soul bulb returns him back to his original Ten-Tailed state. Boruto once again alludes to the darkest timeline. He explains that if Jura is defeated, the planet will cease to be in danger. Konohamaru asks a valid question. How does he know all of this? We as an audience know that Koji likely saw a timeline where this was possible. From chapters 1 all the way to chapter 5 of Two Blue Vortex, we witnessed Boruto and Koji execute their plan A, which was to prevent the birth of Jura and the other Shinju. They failed. From chapter 6 all the way until now, we are seeing plan B in motion. But this is a very delicate situation because one mistake can or will lead to the darkest timeline. If people know that the future can be affected, they're going to make different decisions, and that could be a high risk situation. Boruto tells Konohamaru that he does have a source feeding him information. However, he cannot reveal Kashin Koji's identity. Koji had apparently asked Boruto not to do it for his own safety. To me, this has everything to do with Amado. Koji already witnessed Amado shut down Delta. Why wouldn't he have a command for Koji as well? We also know in chapter 79 of part 1 that Amado had told Shikamaru that he had a shutdown command for Kawaki as well. If Amado knew Koji was alive, and more importantly, that he had the ability to use prescience, he would do anything to get his hands on this power. Koji would be back in the grasp of Amado and be manipulated into having a future in Amado's favor. I suspect Amado is evil, simply for the fact that Boruto has not interacted with him at all and knows of many possible futures thanks to Koji. Konohamaru says that Boruto withholding information is unacceptable and that how can they believe his word at face value without any evidence? Boruto takes it a step further. He knows the only reason he's alive is because he knows more about the threat than anyone else. One of the elders tells him not to get cocky and calls him a renegade, that whatever those monsters are, the leaf will deal with it. I honestly never liked the village elders. They were unlikable in Shippuden, and they're unlikable in Two Blue Vortex as well. Boruto is literally the only one who has a chance of stopping Jura. He defeated Code and Hidari. He's done more for the village than anyone else in that room. The least they can do is give him a chance. I also find it ridiculous that they want to kill Boruto. Whether they like him or not, putting restrictive technology on him and using him as an asset to fight the Shinju is a smarter idea. You're telling me that Orochimaru is allowed to live despite killing the 3rd Hokage and 4th Kazekage, dozens of children and other people, but Boruto can't despite saving the village and without any evidence of Naruto's actual death. Or let's use Kabuto as another example. Why was Kabuto allowed to live? He was a great asset in the 4th Great Shinobi War for the enemy, yet he gets to live and run an orphanage. It's actually crazy to think about. The female elder asked point blank, why did Boruto kill Naruto? We then get to focus on Shikamaru and more specifically the dynamic with Boruto. We have to recall that Boruto told Shikamaru and Ino about omnipotence in chapter 7 of Two Blue Vortex, but explained that they would forget the concept, but they just have to accept the fact that Boruto and Kawaki switched places. I like that we actually get to see someone's perspective who's under omnipotence and are essentially affected by it. Shikamaru remembers trusting Boruto and understanding that he's the true son of Naruto and that Naruto is alive, despite having no logical reason because his memory was altered. Shikamaru has to get Boruto out of there and fast. So Boruto makes a bold statement. He says he didn't kill Naruto, and in fact, the 7th Hokage and his wife are still alive, but he doesn't elaborate further than that, simply saying that they're somewhere safe. The elders, Konohamaru, and Ibiki are all shocked by this reveal. The female elder then asks where are they and why would they need to hide, but Boruto says he's not telling. So Kawaki is a little concerned. He may have framed Boruto for the false crime, but he can't actually prove that Boruto actually killed Naruto, because now the Leaf officials can go back and ask for details in how Boruto killed Naruto. They would also ask Ada, where did Boruto place the bodies? He seems visibly annoyed that Boruto exposed this detail. Boruto doesn't intend to reveal anything, however. He won't lie to them, but he has his duty as a rogue ninja right now. He needs to keep Kawaki feeling secure so he doesn't go out and mess things up for the future even more. The elder is very insistent on killing Boruto very painfully. Ibiki then decides he's done listening to Boruto and is tired of Boruto essentially beating around the bush. Shikamaru decides to connect with Ino. He needs to talk to Boruto again and form some type of plan to get him out of that room. Shikamaru first does the sensible thing and asks how her son is doing, which is something he should do as her close friend, which Ino replies that he's alright. Ino knows what Shikamaru is after, but unlike in chapters 6 and 7, she is not going to break the rules anymore for Shikamaru's sake. We know Ino has forgotten about omnipotence just like Shikamaru has, but unlike Shikamaru in this chapter, she decides not to resist the false beliefs. Her child is hurt, and that's all she can focus on. She's even disturbed that Shikamaru believes that Boruto is really the good guy in the story. Shikamaru tells her that he's not asking as a Hokage, he's asking for help from a friend, which Ino shuts down immediately. Sometimes in life, when you wake up to a truth while others you care about are still blinded, you may end up losing them because they don't understand what you understand. You guys are starting to diverge into different paths. Ibiki attacking Boruto like this is arguably one of the hardest things I've had to watch in this entire series. It's not because I know Boruto can't handle it, it's because Boruto does not deserve this. He's taking on another man's sins. Someone who has truly betrayed him and his entire family and could care less about what's happening to him right now. Naruto is his father. It's not fair he was blamed for something he didn't do, and he's at the mercy of people who are emotionally hurt and believe that Boruto took away their hero from them. Ibiki says he's been itching for 3 years to hurt Boruto. He is a reflection of how a lot of people in the village feel about Boruto. Despite all the good Boruto's done, in their minds, he took away a man that was a very positive force in a lot of people's lives. A man that gave people hope and brought people together all around the world. And this is where my respect for Boruto goes through the roof. Boruto, despite getting beaten up, never folds, never once asks for mercy. He's willing to endure to bring his family back together in a positive future. He ironically enough reminds me a lot of Naruto during the 5 Kage Summit arc in Naruto Shippuden. Naruto allowed himself to get beat up by Karui because of her anger towards Sasuke because of the fact that at the time she thought Sasuke killed Killer B. Naruto, despite his injuries, also pled for the mercy on Sasuke's behalf to the Raikage. I think this is an interesting parallel between father and son. Shikamaru knows that Boruto can't take much more of the punishment because Ibiki will kill him, so he decides to rely on another ally that Boruto made in order to save him. A desperate gamble, but it's the only chance Shikamaru has because he can't blow his cover as the 8th Hokage candidate. Shikamaru tells the others to bring Mitsuki and use his snake venom to make Boruto talk. Konohamaru then reacts in shock. He knows that Mitsuki wanted to kill Boruto more than anything since he left the village 3 years ago. But little does he know that things have changed quite a bit between their dynamic. Ada then informs Kawaki that Boruto did not expose him for being behind Naruto's disappearance, much to Kawaki's shock. Ada even points out he wants to protect his standing inside of the Leaf Village. But I think this only just raises Kawaki's suspiciousness. I know he doesn't think of Boruto as a loyal brother that didn't sell him out. Kawaki likely is thinking that Boruto is up to a more sinister plan. And honestly, this chapter also increased my dislike towards Kawaki, and I hope he does not have a happy ending once this series concludes. The scene in which Shikamaru interacts with Mitsuki really hits home for the theme of this chapter, the theme of course being duty, in which every single character in this chapter is carrying out. Because Shikamaru understands and knows the truth about Boruto switching places with Kawaki, it's his duty to save Boruto. Ada's duty is to support Kawaki and his goals. Kawaki's duty is to essentially eliminate the Otsutsuki threat. Ino's duty is to her son, and because of this duty and this fear, it causes her to follow the rules of the Leaf Village. And now Mitsuki understands his duty to Boruto, being his true son, and that it's his job to support the son in any way he can. Shikamaru then proceeds to slip Mitsuki a note, and tells him to control his emotions and perform his duty, and tells him, does he understand, which Mitsuki gives him that look like, you know it. Boruto makes a taunt to Mitsuki, asking if he's still idiotically searching for his son, and then Mitsuki powers up to Sage Mode, and I absolutely love that without exchanging a single word about the plan, Boruto quickly picks up on what's going on, and both of these two put on one heck of a performance in front of everyone else. He proceeds to slam Boruto against the wall, scaring everyone because they have no idea whether he's going to kill Boruto or not, because they still need that intel from him. Mitsuki's snake slips behind Boruto's handcuffs and he enters the code, freeing Boruto. Mitsuki also tells him exactly where Boruto's belongings are and how many guards he would have to deal with in that specific room. As far as I'm concerned, if Boruto is Mitsuki's true son, then Mitsuki is Boruto's true brother. This is what brotherhood is truly about, not that nonsense he has going on with Kawaki. Despite reality being altered by omnipotence, they are always having each other's backs. They are always showing up for each other in the most difficult of times. Boruto is Mitsuki's brother from another mother, as far as I'm concerned. Or in Mitsuki's case, brother from another snake guy, but you get the point. But in my opinion, this is a more positive message to put out to the audience, instead of promoting the very toxic and dysfunctional dynamic between Boruto and Kawaki. I much prefer Mitsuki and Boruto's dynamic. So Boruto manages to use the flying Raijin to escape, but before he goes, he makes sure to tell everyone that he holds no ill will towards them and that they are not his enemies. After all, he knows they've been deceived. Boruto says he will share information on a need-to-know basis, and how they use that information is up to them. Konohamaru immediately suspects that Mitsuki was the reason Boruto got away, but is confused because he knew for a fact that Mitsuki wanted to kill Boruto for 3 years. So why would he let that opportunity slip? It just doesn't make sense. Ibiki sums up that Amado's tech was just faulty, so he's way off the mark. Shikamaru managed to save Boruto and remained in good standing in terms of keeping his cover, but this is a bad look as a leader, since it was his call to let Mitsuki in the room. He's not out of fire just yet. I really like this scene. Boruto teleports in the room containing his gear. The Jonin are completely shocked that he appeared out of nowhere. Boruto takes his gear, says it's not their fault, and then takes his leave. The Jonin don't have time to react to anything and probably said after he left, "We don't get paid enough for this." But with that being said, I honestly like Boruto's design without Sasuke's cape. I think he looks cool without it, and it honestly makes him look more unique as a character. Not to say he doesn't look cool with Sasuke's cape, because I think he does look cool with Sasuke's replica of his cape, but that's just my 2 cents. Once again, the elders don't acknowledge that Boruto defended their village or the fact that he shared information with them. I could really care less about these guys. The heat is really going to come down to Shikamaru next chapter. Shikamaru later heads to the Hokage office and informs Sarada and Sumire of Boruto's escape. So Shikamaru gets a call from his brother-in-law Kankuro, and unfortunately it's some bad news. Apparently Gaara was taken down. In addition to that, Shinki was turned into a tree. I suspect the culprit behind this was in fact Mamushi. He seems to be the one Shinju driven by the instinct the most. We learned in chapter 13 that Matsuri was trying to get the 5th Thorn Soul bulb, so we know it wasn't her, and we know that Jura and Hidari were in the Leaf Village at this time. Mamushi likely went to the hidden sand using the claw grime, managed to defeat Gaara and Shinki, and got bit in the exchange. So now we get to witness the birth of the 5th Shinju, and it turned out to be the most predictable person ever, Shinki. I really thought they were going to do some type of twist with this, but unfortunately that is not the case. This still doesn't change the fact that the 5th Shinju was born at a later time. One of the futures Koji saw consisted of all 5 of them being born at the same time. So just because it's still Shinki, it doesn't change the fact that history has still changed. Koji has unfortunately failed to stop the birth of Shinju Shinki. So we end the chapter with Jura deciding to name the 5th Shinju Ryu. And with a name like that, you know he's going to be dangerous. I have no doubt that Ryu is going to want to devour Gaara. So it will be interesting to see the interaction between Gaara and Ryu. Or maybe they could do something else with Ryu and make him a renegade Shinju. Like maybe he'll have his own agendas. They really could do anything with this new character. I wonder why the Shinju are bothering attacking the other villages. In my opinion, I think they're actually interested in replacing humanity, but that's just my 2 cents on the situation. So until next time, guys, and man, I could just tell Ryu's going to be dangerous.